I'm Trish from TrishNewbery.com, and today I wanted to show you how to make bias tape for woven fabrics really fast. So I've got a new sewing pattern about to come out called the Felicity Top, and it's for woven fabrics and it needs bias tape. So bias tape you can buy pre-made or you can make your own. Place your fabric down and then cut out a square. 50 centimeters is good, 45 centimeters is good. If you've got anything smaller than about a 35 centimeter, you're going to start running into a few problems. Just because you're going to have a lot more joins and it might be a little bit harder to sew up. So I'm just going to mark this with my marker pen so you can see it, and then we'll cut it out. The next thing we need to do is to cut this fabric in half on the bias so we have two triangles. So there's two ways you could do it. You could take a ruler and cut through that line there, or if you don't have access to a long ruler, the quickest way to do it is to go to an iron, fold this in half like so, and then cut directly through that line there that you've just ironed in. Alrighty, so take one piece and just turn it, and we'll make sure that one's right side up with the right angle here, like so, and the bias here. And then this other piece we want to just arrange like this with the right angle here, like so. And then we're going to pull it across like so. The seam allowances I'm going to use today are 6mm, 1/4 inch. So our next step is to stitch these two fabrics together through this here, edge here at 6mm, 1/4 inch. Now when we stitch this, hopefully what you'll see is there is a small triangle overlap at each ends, and that's absolutely correct. We want to stitch at the 6mm mark, so if this is arranged properly, what you will find is it will be exactly joining 6mm, 1/4 inch in. So let's go to our sewing machine and stitch that. Now we need to press that seam open. With binding, it's really important that we do a lot of pressing and our seams are all nicely sewn. So the instructions I'm giving you now are for 7 or 8mm finish binding. I'll put the conversion below. But what we're going to do is arrange your fabric like this. Now I'm going to do it from the wrong side so you can see the design a bit easier. And we're going to mark in parallel rows all the way from the top to the bottom edge. If you have a ruler like this with all of the different widths on, you'll find it a lot easier. In the description below I'll show you the cut widths for different sizes. But so 8 or 9mm, 7 or 8mm widths means we need to cut this to just over 3 centimeters. So I'm just lucky enough that this ruler here, my very old ruler, is just under 3 centimeters. So by the time I put it in with marker pen, I know it's exactly going to be the correct width. It doesn't matter, you can be near enough, it can be pretty close, but other than that I would just use the parallel lines on my grading square. So what I'm going to do now is just mark in lines like so. What you will need to do with your excess is just to remove it. We don't want that. So we're going to sew this edge to this edge here. So go ahead and mark a seam at 6mm, 1/4 of an inch in from this side, and the same on the other side. Now when you're ready, turn this over. So we have right sides up, fold this side in, fold this side in. And we're going to sew these two edges together that you've marked. Alright, so we're nearly ready to sew these pieces together. We just need to arrange it. So what we're going to do is we are going to sew this here to this here. So the top one will need to be missed on this side. So we want to match it so it's slightly off like this. So go ahead and take some pins, and when we're matching this we want to make sure we match the very centre of our line here. Hopefully you can see this a little bit easier now. Take a pin and just pop it in at the intersection of that 6mm, 1/4 of an inch join position, and then on the other side of the fabric make sure that pin comes out the second one down, and then just hold that into place like so. So this is what we want at the beginning. And then just work your way down, making sure that 6mm, 1/4 of an inch line on one side matches up with the same position on the other. You don't have to pin every one unless you want to. As long as you're reasonably accurate, it should be fine. The more accurate you are now, the better the final product you will have. And when you get used to this technique, you will find you will be able to make this really fast. Okay, so once you have that pinned into position, we're going to sew that through. Make sure you stitch on your 6mm, 1/4 of an inch stitch line, and that you back tack. Even though I'm fully aware we're going to be cutting through some of the stitches in a moment. Right, so let's go to our iron and press that seam open just like we pressed the other seam open, like so. This is the stage we should be up to now. If you've done this accurately, what you're looking for is these straight lines here should match beautifully, and at this folded edge, if you have this on the bias, the bias cut, the 45, you'll find that these lines are perpendicular like so. So our next step is the fun part. We are going to cut through these lines. Doesn't really matter which end you start from. Just try and cut reasonably accurately. which means don't air cut like I am. An air cut means literally holding your scissors in the air. What you should be doing is making sure that that blade sits on something firm. But the reality is, when you're cutting this up, that can be a bit challenging. Okay, so it's time now to go back to our iron. Our next step is to fold this binding piece in half and press through the fold. Be really careful about your fingers that you don't get burnt by the iron. So fold that in half like so. And then what we're going to do is open that up again and fold each of the raw edges towards the centre, like so. So I'll just start at this end. So put the raw edge on the first fold line in the centre. And then do the same for the other edge. And do that for the entire length of your binding strip. So the last step in our process is to refold through that first press line. So the dimensions I've given you have left you with a 7 or an 8mm bias tape. This is a lovely width to use around tops. It's not too chunky. If you were using this for quilting or something, you definitely want a bigger bias tape, but this does enable you to get around the curves without getting any tunneling or roping. The other thing is, with this you can just leave the tape unpressed and use it with a binder if you have one for your sewing machine, a binder foot. Couple of tips: the smaller the tape, be very careful with your iron. It's really easy to get burnt with steam, so just take your time and be really careful. So I hope you enjoy this video. I hope that's of some use to you. Thanks for joining me today. If you like what you see, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I hope to see you again soon.